history buffs! My name is Nick Hodges, and I apologise for a very, very delayed podcast. I know the channel seems dead at the moment, but I have been ill for the past few weeks. Don't be worried. The show is still continuing on. I also wish to say that Brian McHale wasn't available to do a podcast with me today. Instead, I got my very good friend Tyler Davies. Some of you may remember him when I was doing a few podcasts here and there on Spill.com. So, Tyler, how you doing, mate?
Hey, mate. Good to be here. Not too bad. Missed you, man. I thought you dropped off the face of the earth for a little while.
I know. I really feel like I had. Because you were messaging me earlier today, I'm like, oh god, I really need to get around. But I think it's like the cold virus. There's just like as soon as November, December rolls around, like everyone seems to be getting it.
You're weak, man. You have a weak immune system. I'm telling you.
I don't go to the gym now as much as I used to. So that's why you got like this heightened immune system, mate.
You've got to get some vitamin C in you at least.
Yeah.
You're weak.
Here you are, like to save my ass and to present a very entertaining show.
What's new, man?
What's new? Yeah.
What's new? It's the way we roll, huh?
Yes, but there's something different now. We're not reviewing video games like we used to.
Yeah. Foreign exchange, those good old days. Spill.
Oh god. For anyone who doesn't know, Foreign Exchange was like my first amateur podcast series we used to do with Brian back in the Spill community. I mean, it did pretty well, considering how long ago it was.
Yeah, I mean, we had a decent number of listeners. We had like 400 listeners regularly around that number. It's 385. I think we topped out at, which isn't bad for the time.
Yeah. I mean, it was actually like I remember it being the number one fan podcast or something.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking 7 years ago now as well, and obviously podcasting's come on a lot in that time. As you know.
Was it 7 years?
Yeah, 7 years, mate. 7 years.
God, we are really old. We certainly are.
6 or 7 years, in fact.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, I mean, I know that I was on Spill since 2008, I believe. That was kind of like the time when The Dark Knight sort of came out. It was either that or the Transformers movie first came out. And you've been with me a few times to Austin, Texas, to meet Corey and the gang.
Yeah, we went out there for the very first SpillCon, as it was. Yeah, it was good time. Met the Rooster Teeth guys out there. There was one of the rappers from Wu-Tang Clan. I can't remember which one it was, RZA or someone.
Really?
Like that. Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, one of the guys was there from Wu-Tang Clan. There was a skateboarder there as well. It wasn't Tony Hawk. Before anyone says, "Oh, Tony Hawk," no one that famous. Someone sort of famous if you're into that sort of scene, but yeah, we weren't, so we didn't know who he was. But,
yeah, no, I remember also. I don't think you were there, but Angry Joe also turned up. He was like randomly a fan of Spill.com. Although unfortunately, I didn't know who he was at the time. Now, and I'm like, oh shit, maybe I should have swapped numbers with him or something like that.
Yeah, no, he wasn't there for the first one, definitely. I mean, I was there for the very first one in London, which was the sort of the smaller gathering of Spill members.
Oh, that's right, you were.
Which you arranged, which Corey came over for. And then the very first official SpillCon in Austin, Texas. But I mean, even the first one in London, we had a few guys other than Corey. Obviously, a few of the fans came over from the US, which was pretty cool.
Not the first one, I think. I mean, like the first one was like 20, 30 people turned up. And that was also the first time I sort of met Corey as well. And I brought you over as sort of my, like, bodyguard, just like, hey, dude, I don't know, I just realized I'm meeting a whole bunch of strange people from the internet.
Social anxiety.
And then you turned up, you're like, I don't think you got anything to worry about, Nick. You'll be fine. There's just a bunch of nerds like you. It's like, I'm sure you'd be cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, so all the podcasts we did were mainly about computer games and bullshitting like that. Because you were on the Loading Bar a couple of times. We were doing shows like what were the games that we reviewed?
I came in to cover one day for the Loading Bar. Unfortunately, I didn't get my own animation, which was quite disappointing. I was hoping for some little bald cartoon guy running around. But no, we did the Rugby World Cup, which would have been 2012, I think. And the Street Fighter version that came out as well that time on the PS3. The name escapes me completely. No clue which version of Street Fighter it was, because lots have come out since then.
Did we ever used to do? Did you come on the Let's Have It podcasts as well?
Unfortunately, not. No.
Not once in the whole 7 years that we were doing spill parties and stuff.
Just foreign exchange, and you did invite me to one. You did a special edition the day after one of the London spill parties, where Corey Coleman was on BMT. If you remember that night, arrived.
He's always on BMT.
Well, yeah, he arrived 4 hours late.
Right.
To the party, but yeah, the next day. But I was just completely wrecked, as you know. So I went home and went to bed.
No, I understand that. We were all pretty wrecked. But you know what, though? There was one time where Corey arrived on time. Not on Black Man time, but like real time. And he comes up to me and he's like, "Oh, Nick, I'm so sorry I'm late again." I'm like, "No, you're not." He's like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, "I told you that the party was going to be late on purpose to see if you would arrive on time." And he's like, "You son of a bitch, man. That is racist." But, well done for doing that.
It worked.
It worked, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure that he doesn't work on BMT now.
No,
so.
I'm sure he doesn't. He doesn't.
Yeah. But in any case, you're also into history, are you not, Tyler?
I'm a bit of a fan of history, yeah. My one of my handles is Cicero. As many of you know, the Roman senator, ornator, read the Republic a few years ago. Bit of a fan, I should say. One of my favourite films of all time. I mean, you've reviewed it already as a Gladiator, one of the first ones I wanted you to review. And, you've covered some of my favourites as well. I should do Kingdom of Heaven. You got that one in pretty early as well. Still waiting for that Alexander review, man, because I'm really, really looking forward to what you have to say about that.
Yeah, no, everyone is. I mean, I try to bounce around between different time periods and just like give it like a sort of variety. I mean, at the moment, I finished writing the script for Amadeus.
Ah, the original rock and roll bad boy. Yeah.
Yeah. The original punk rock star. So that's in the pipeline at the moment. I think the second part just needs to be edited. And hopefully that should be out sometime next week.
Well, it's about bloody time, man. You're leaving us all hanging, waiting for new content. I mean,
I know. Like once I got sick, I was just out for the count. Like I was in bed, but also it's like a really hard movie to research because I'm not that. I don't know that much about classical music in general. I know what I like. I like Mozart and I like Beethoven and Schubert and all of that. So, but anyway, today we are going to be answering questions from the fans from the last podcast. And I remind everyone out there, please send us your questions. So, like, at the comment section of this video, just post as many questions as you want. We'll try to get through as many as we can on the very next podcast. So, but before then, I just need to answer some general questions that I get again and again and again, which has nothing to do with the show so far. For example, everyone keeps asking, what is the name of the song I use in my intro? Well, the song is called Escala. It was covered... the song is called Palladio, and it was covered by a band called Escala, and my sister is the cellist in that band, or was the cellist.
If you go to YouTube, guys, and type in Escala, you'll see them on Britain's Got Talent from about 6 years ago.
That's right, yeah.
And they play that song at Britain's Got Talent.
Yeah.
I never watched Britain's Got Talent before, but Nick forced me to watch that one and the following episode where he was on it when they meet the family because his sister's group got to the Scala, should I say? They got to the final.
Wait, you watched that?
You made
really?
me watch that, yeah.
Oh no! Oh, that's quite embarrassing now.
Sending me messages. Did you see me? Did you see me on TV? And I was like, yes, Nick. Well
yes,
done.
Nick.
Yes,
yeah,
Nick.
for the whole 2 seconds that you were on telly, that was like my 1.5 seconds of fame, on television. So, yeah. But like, so that's the name of the song that I use in my intro, but also it's in the credits of every video that I put up. So like, if you ever want to know what's the name of the song or what's the name of a film that I show in the review, like apart from the main movie itself, the clips are always provided in the credits.
You can't ask people to read, man.
That's what I do. Every time I watch a movie, I'm like, that's a really cool song. I want to check it out. And then I wait until I get to the credits. If people could do it for the Marvel movies, they want to see the end credit sequence, then they could do the same. So if you ever see anyone in the comment section asking what's the name of the song, just say to them it's either Palladio by Escala, or you could check out the credits and see what's there. Another question I get is, will I be tackling non-Hollywood or British historical movies, like Chinese, Japanese, etc.? And the answer is yes. I am doing Hollywood and British movies for the moment because the channel's just starting out, and I want to just get a big enough audience before I start tackling some Korean cinema, for example. I mean, like, there's some fantastic movies about like the Korean War that I would love to touch over, or about the Chinese Empire. I want to do Mongol at some point, movie about Genghis Khan and all of that. But I mean, just for the now, I'm keeping it with like English language movies for the moment. So, all right. So on to our main questions, Tyler. Are you ready?
I'm ready to rumble. So, Nick, tell us, what is your opinion on, and you may remember these as books from your childhood, okay, from being at school, because I certainly do. I actually wasn't aware that they turned this into a TV series until the question came in. But what's your opinion on CBBC's Horrible Histories?
I have no opinion on it. I didn't even know it existed. Like, I thought, from what I remember, it was like a book series.
Yeah, they were book series, yeah.
Yeah, it was like I read them in the school library, and I remember it being very sort of cheeky, dirty, like the stuff that you wouldn't normally read in a history book, of like really dark stuff, of like what Henry VIII was like, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, I guess it was a children's series, but I wouldn't mind seeing like an adult version of Horrible Histories, I mean, maybe this is what history buffs could stand in for, like, just like show up the like truly messed up stuff.
Well, apparently it's been going since 2009, and it's still going now. It's sketch comedy for kids. Do you think that's an adequate way to teach children history? Do you think that's a good way moving forward to get kids interested in history? Or
absolutely, yeah. I like, that was the biggest issue I had in school, was how my teachers taught history. They got bogged down on very innate details, like about dates or what the person was doing, but rather than the angle of the story, of how to make it compelling. Mm-hmm. I mean, what's more interesting, like talking about the reason why Julius Caesar wanted to reform the political structure of the Republic, or the exact method of how he was doing it.
I mean, they based them. Apparently, they're based on like British history classics like Blackadder and Monty Python. So it's a sort of more of a satirical take on history than to what you would have seen generally from other documentaries or history shows. I think that's quite a good idea moving forward. I mean, if anyone who hasn't seen the Monty Python films, if you're into sort of a silly British slapstick sort of comedy, I suggest you go and check them out. I assume the majority of people would have done as well. Blackadder as well, Rowan Atkinson. A lot of you may know him from Mr. Bean. Stephen Fry from QI as well. He's in Blackadder, as well as Hugh Laurie. Few Americans. Dr. House, in fact. So if you want to see some of the stuff from these guys' earlier careers, go and check out Blackadder, certainly.
I mean, that's quite funny. I always think of Hugh Laurie from Blackadder. I don't think of him in House. So,
I'm sure a lot of people will be surprised to see that side of Hugh Laurie. A lot of American listeners or viewers that we have on on History Buffs would probably only know Hugh Laurie from as Dr. House.
Well, I mean, I know some friends of mine. Like, there's this one girl who thinks that Hugh Laurie is really hot. And
really?
And I'm like, excuse me? And she's like, oh, he's so hot in House. Like, I love his American accent. Like, you do realize the guy's British? I'm like, no, he's not. And then I show him like a sketch from Blackadder where he's like really all poncy and like the attraction immediately wore off. Like, the moment he doesn't have an American accent, he's not attractive whatsoever.
Oh dear. Is this an American friend or a British friend?
American friend.
Oh, I would have thought the fact that he was English and having an English accent would have made him all the more appealing. Apparently, we're quite exotic.
Yeah, but
so
he's not like.
Told.
Yeah, but he's not like Daniel Craig British, He is, whimsical sort of British, not least attractive whatsoever British. I mean, at least the way he is in Blackadder, so... I just think he's a very good actor.
Yeah, so. I can see that to a certain degree. I mean, I don't know if you remember on the point of the British accent. Do you remember when we were in Austin, Texas, the first time, someone came up to me and said, "Hey, that's a really cool accent. Where are you from?" I said, "England." "New England?" "No." "No, England. Where's that?"
It was like This is like Tyler, just like let it slide because it's going to happen to you another 1,000 times. You know?
Yeah, it did. It's like, hey, man, you got a really cool accent. Are you from Northern Texas?
Eventually, you realized how it'd help you with the girls. Then you're like, okay, now I can use my my powers for evil.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, the accent isn't really appealing over here because everyone in the southeast of England talks like this, don't they? So, Nick, tell me, what's your favourite era of history and why? Of course.
My favourite era in history. And it's probably going to sound boring, but I love the Roman Empire.
Oh, who doesn't?
No, I mean, yeah, it's just like something so far removed from the way we kind of see things now. It's like more epic on a grander scale with the buildings they made, the battles, like just so grand. I just love it so much, and the characters in it are just brilliant. But like everything up to like the beginning to the fall of the Roman Empire. So you got like Julius Caesar, but you also got like Attila the Hun.
Mm. I mean, even right from the beginning of the Roman Empire, when they were just a small town, small city-state, growing up, fighting against the Etruscans and betraying the Etruscans. In fact, I'm sure you know the story. How they invited the neighbouring Etruscans to a meal. Lots of men and women. I can't remember the exact numbers. It's been a while since I read the story. And in the night, they murdered the men and kept the women for themselves to grow the empire.
What about when they became like a first like superpower? Was when they were against Carthage. The wars they had against them were like just how like first how they developed the navy, but then also like
they reverse engineered a Carthaginian ship, didn't they?
Yeah,
There's a Carthaginian ship that run aground, and they basically deconstructed it completely because they didn't have a navy prior to this time, and they just reverse engineered it, in fact. And then they built their own fleet to go up against Carthage and managed to successfully invade.
But also like in the Second War when Hannibal,
the Second Punic
War, when Hannibal got into Spain, and then he got his army of elephants and warriors and all of that, and got through over the Alps. Like, have you ever been to the Alps?
No, I haven't. No.
It's like I went skiing one time, and I'm just looking at these mountains thinking, how the fuck did he get elephants to go over this thing?
They used took vats of vinegar, didn't they, and salt to break down the rock in the Alps to carve a path through.
Well, yeah, I think it was vinegar and wine as well. They like poured it over the rocks, and they had like a fire going on underneath it, and then the rocks would sort of crack, and then they would sort of pull them down with the elephants. But it's just like unbelievable feat. Like I can't imagine like how it would just translate today, without like machines and all of that. So, I would say that the Roman era would be maybe my favourite era in history.
Have you seen the TV show Rome that used to be on BBC, or were you a fan of that?
I love that show. I think I was a bit wary of it first because I knew that it had been cancelled on the second season. But I decided to give it another chance and watch it all through again. But I was quite happy with the way it concluded. Like, I hate it in television series when they know they're about to get cancelled, and rather than leaving it all on the cliffhanger, these guys actually took the time to conclude the whole story properly, enough so it sort of made sense.
What about Spartacus? Have you ever seen the Spartacus TV show?
You had to bring that up. Yeah, I haven't watched Spartacus yet, okay? Like,
Get to it, man!
You and everyone else on the show has been on my case to bloody watch Spartacus. Yeah, I will. I swear to God, I will. I mean, like, just been... I've got other things that I need to finish beforehand, but... yeah, at some point I will have to not only watch Spartacus, but more than likely I'll have to review it. So, because the only Spartacus movie I've seen is the Stanley Kubrick movie.
Yeah. I mean, the first season is called Gods of the Arena. It's a mini-series, which is basically focused on one house. It's the House of Batiatus, based in the city of Capua. Like the one of the main protagonists is Quintus Batiatus, who's the head of the house, effectively. The story revolves around that. But don't be surprised that the actor will change. The main actor who plays Spartacus will change for the third season. Unfortunately, he dies of cancer, which is a really big surprise, actually, because he's a guy in great physical shape and condition.
I was about to ask, is it like is it visible?
No,
Like...
not in the slightest. You'd be completely surprised. I actually picked it up. It's Andy Whitfield was his name, and he was replaced by Liam McIntyre. I actually started watching it from the 3rd season. So when Liam McIntyre came in, I hadn't seen it prior to that, so he was the first Spartacus that I encountered actor-wise. I prefer him. People generally disagree with me who started watching from the start. They said it wasn't the same, but that's obviously reasons for that, obviously, because they started watching it with the original actor. But yeah, it's a very good show. There's 4 seasons. You've got Gods of the Arena, Blood and Sand, Vengeance, and War of the Damned.
Does it conclude Spartacus' story, or do they
It
get
does.
camped?
It does,
Okay.
yeah. It does. It basically shows the rise of Spartacus and the rise of the slave army and the rebellion against the Roman Empire. It's very gory. Some of the scenes are filmed very 300-esque, with slow motion decapitations and limbs coming flying off and things like that. But it's not too much in the same style as 300.
That was the thing I was probably made me a bit wary about watching the show, because I love 300, but sticking with that for an entire TV show, it's just because I don't like when they film everything against a green screen. And I think when 300 came out, it was sort of revolutionary, but I don't know about you, but I think most of us are getting kind of sick of it.
Yeah.
So, when people just rely on the green screen all the time. I'm much more into practical effects and shooting on real locations. But I mean, if you say it's like really good, then I'll definitely need to check it out.
So I mean, with you like that about Game of Thrones as well. I mean, obviously Game of Thrones isn't historical in essence, historical TV show, although there is elements that are steeped in history. But do you prefer that, like King's Landing being filmed in Dubrovnik, and then just add in layers to the city rather than it just being completely green screen?
Yeah, no, I really do, because like there was one, I think in the last season of Game of Thrones, they are in Dawn. They're in Dawn.
Yeah, Cordoba, I believe they filmed in Spain. Cordoba.
Exactly, and you could see that the Islamic, the Moorish architecture, and just the buildings themselves tell a story, and you get a sense of how old it is, and you get a sense of how old this world is in Game of Thrones. So every piece of architecture you see in the show, or the landscape, just tells a bigger story, and that's not being told on the screen, by the actors or whatever. So that's I really, really love.
So in terms of, just while we're on Game of Thrones, have you seen the promotional poster for the new season?
Yeah. They got Jon Snow. I knew it. I knew he's not dead.
Well, that you can't see his eyes.
Well, I don't need to see his eyes.
But what could that possibly imply?
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, maybe he might be blind or something, but...
a walk, maybe? Or a white?
Possibly. I mean, I know isn't he... there's a theory that he's meant to be Azor Ahai or something.
Yeah, that is one of the fan theories going around, yeah.
Yeah. So I'd be interested in seeing that. I mean, I love how they've given up on trying to, pretend that he's not coming back at all, with all these leaked photos of him on set, or him in Belfast Airport, coming to the set. So,
well, I mean, it's unfortunate. A lot of people in Ireland, where they're filming in Northern Ireland near Giant's Causeway, they were flying personal drones over and recording the filming. So they had literally people's personal drones are flying over and recording them while they were filming, and they could see Jon Snow basically wearing the stark colours as opposed to the colours of the Night's Watch. On set, so it sort of gave an implication that, well, either it's a flashback or it's part of the forthcoming season.
God, I would really love to see if there were any outtakes of hundreds of little drones flying above the set. He's like, "Cut! You guys, please move. Okay, we'll allow you to leak the photo. We just need to shoot this episode for the day."
Gotta say congratulations as well, by the way. Your Game of Thrones video gained 17,800 views.
Oh yeah. No, that's quite surprising. Yeah, it's my highest rated video. Although I'll be honest with you, I sometimes I get really nervous whenever I see a comment on my Game of Thrones video, because most of the people who comment on it are die-hard fans of the show. So any little tiny mistake I may have made whilst doing the video, they defend it to the death, and they get so offended. Whereas I thought like I was just explaining to people like how much I love this show and this historical stuff that I see. These are my interpretations, but I don't know. I think it's because they follow the show so much. Whereas these films that I'm reviewing most of the time, they are in it for the long haul. They actually like it for the content that History Buffs is producing. Mm-hmm. So yeah. But also another thing I forgot to mention is like we got 3,000 subscribers as of this episode.
That's great. That's fantastic moving forward. You've had the channel up for a very short space of time.
It's been like, nearly 4 months.
That's a massive achievement, yeah.
I'm really excited to see how it goes in a year's time. I'm crossing my fingers, but hopefully we're really good. So, to anyone listening, thank you so much for supporting me for this long. I had one guy who was saying, like, Nick, I've been watching your video since you had, like, 50 subscribers. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, thank you so much, because I'm still figuring out what kind of show this is. So, thank you all for your patience with this.
And just to put this question to bed, because you get asked this quite a lot, I've noticed in the Game of Thrones video, are you planning on doing a part 2, which will cover the War of the Roses, for example?
That's a good question. Yeah, everyone asks me or complains in the Game of Thrones video, like, why didn't I cover War of the Roses? Why didn't I mention War of the Roses? War of the Roses, Tyler, is an unbelievably complicated thing to talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and I did think it... I think if I was ever to mention War of the Roses, it deserves its own video. Like, it shouldn't be mentioned in in a sentence. It needs to be fully spoken about and analysed and have direct comparisons between the Lannisters and the Starks and all of the rest of it. But also, like, my knowledge of the War of the Roses is very limited. I know enough to see the comparisons between the War of the Five Kings in Game of Thrones to the War of the Roses. But I would need to dedicate like a whole episode just to doing that.
Okay, and have you heard of the book The Iron King by Maurice Duron?
Yes, you told me about it.
Yeah, if anyone isn't aware of this book, this is supposedly one of the books that influenced George R.R. Martin. Again, it's The Iron King by Maurice Duron. I may have butchered the name, but he's French, so I do apologise to any French out there. It was written in the mid-1950s, and it received an update recently. It's a 7-volume saga chronicling the dynasty fight for the French throne in the early part of the 14th century, which basically culminated around the 100 Years' War with France. So that will give you that will show you a lot of the inspiration that George R.R. Martin received as well when writing Game of Thrones, as well as obviously War of the Roses and what Nick discussed in the History Buffs video.
Yeah, but there aren't many English translations of the book.
No, there are. There is an English translation.
Isn't it? No, there are series though, aren't they? Like, isn't that one of the
series of 7 volumes?
Right. Okay. I guess now that Master Grimm has given his thumbs up, I think people have been demanding that they get like more of them in English. I remember an article saying about it somewhere that it's been, because they've been around for a while, that's mostly always been in French, these books. So
I'll send Nick a link and we'll get that posted for you in the description of the video, and you can go check that out.
All right, brilliant,
if you guys are interested in that. So just to backtrack slightly onto the Roman Empire, one question I wanted to ask you, which slipped my mind completely: who would win in a field battle? Do you think, in your opinion, between the Roman Empire at the height of its power, and the Huns?
Oh god, that's good. To be honest, I think the Huns... I mean, like, I think they would have a harder fight in their hands, but the Huns, they didn't follow the same rules of combat that the Romans did. I mean, like, if you just look at how, at the height of Rome's power, like, how many legions were destroyed in the Battle of Teutoburg Forest by the barbarians. In the open field, they will kick ass. But the Huns, they didn't fight like that. They fought like... the Mongols. I mean, there's some theories out there that they may have been descended. The Mongols may be descended from the Huns. They actually might be from Mongolia, and they tended to fight on horseback with bows and arrows and dragging like ropes with logs and stuff like that. And actually, when the Huns first came into Europe, they were the ones who were terribly outnumbered by the Eastern Romans and the Western Romans, and they did the most damage. It was only when they got all the barbarian tribes they could to defeat. That's what it took to defeat the Huns. So
shock cavalry, wasn't it? Really, from the Huns, shock cavalry and cavalry archers, which obviously wouldn't have been much. Obviously the Roman foot soldiers wouldn't have been much against them unless they wanted to move in formation across the line. But then they would have caught the Huns. They have to sit in cestudo form and wait for the Huns to run out of ammunition from the arrows before they can advance.
I mean, it's like an early form of blitzkrieg, you know. Like that's why they're able to move everything all in one go. They just terrorized the landscape, kind of how the Mongols were able to conquer such a vast empire. Mm. So yeah, I give it to the Huns each time.
They'd raise cities in their wake as well, so there's never any danger of the army returning to the city and refortifying.
Exactly. That's how I play in Attila Total War. So that's why I always choose the Huns.
Yeah, we need to do a joint campaign one day.
Yeah, that would be sweet. Maybe we could post it up on the site.
We'll go against each other, and we can stick that up, as you say.
Yeah.
So,
prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, Tyler. You know?
Okay.
You pick the Romans at the height of their power, and I'll pick the Huns. So.
We'll give it a go. I'll rebuild the Roman Empire, and I'll crush you.
That'd be sweet.
So, tell me, what is your favourite historical TV show?
Oh, that should be easy. Vikings. I mean, actually, who's this question by? Oh, sorry. This is by Aris, I believe his name is. My favorite historical TV show is Vikings. Have you ever seen it?
I haven't yet. No, to be completely honest. I've been fully engrossed in the new season of Heroes and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh God! All right. Well, you can't give me shit for not watching Spartacus and then you haven't seen Vikings. Okay, this is like hardcore historical television making here. I think to me, I feel it's better than Rome. That's how good it is. And the last season that watched, I thought was absolutely one of the best TV seasons of all time, where the Vikings attack Paris. And but what I love about it is how authentic that show is to what Vikings were really like, rather than being this goofy bad guys with the horned helmets. Like, it just shows how advanced they were with the shipbuilding, but also their religion. It's like a good show to watch whilst you're waiting for Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. So yeah. So if you love Game of Thrones, you'll like Vikings. I guarantee you.
I've been meaning to check it out. I've also been meaning to check out The Last Kingdom as well, which is a new show on BBC. Have you seen any of that at all?
Isn't that a time travel movie or something?
No. It's set in the year 872.
No, I haven't seen it. Wait, is it about Vikings as well?
Basically, it's set in England.
Yeah.
And there's many separate kingdoms in England as it was at the time. And a lot of them have fallen to the invading Danes. So there's the last great kingdom of Wessex standing alone and defiant under Athelred.
Alfred,
yeah, Athelred. Basically, and the main hero, his name's Uthred. He's born the son of a Saxon nobleman. And he's got Danish ancestry. His bloodline is Danish from what I can remember. And he is basically forced to choose between his country of birth and the people of his upbringing. So he was born in Denmark. He is a Dane, but he was born in England. And his loyalties are basically tested to decide whether he's a Saxon or a Dane and who he's going to fight for.
This actually might be a good companion to watch with Vikings, because Vikings takes place before Last Kingdom. Like in the last season of Vikings, Alfred is born, so you see him as a baby. But so in this show, you get to see him as the king, the legendary king who pretty much kicked the Vikings' ass.
Yeah.
So, but the show Vikings follows a character called Ragnar Lothbrok, who is probably the most famous Viking of all, and a lot of the thing he's kind of like the King Arthur of Norse mythology. Mm-hmm. It's hard to figure out where the real man is and where the myth sort of ends. And you see a lot of famous Vikings that we know, like Bjorn Ironside, the Boneless, where they all said that they were his sons. So, and you see them in the show. So, yeah, there you go. Favorite historical TV show is Vikings.
Excellent. Well, Last Kingdom is definitely something we both need to check out. I mean, on Rotten Tomatoes, they give it 92% approval rating, and IMDb, the fans give it 8.5 out of 10 from 5,500 votes.
Is it based on Bernard Cornwell's books? The guy who wrote Sharp and the...
Yes, it is.
Oh, awesome!
It's based on the series, the Saxon Stories.
Yeah. Okay, I've read the books. I can't remember anything about the plot line, but I gotta watch. I'm a big Sharp fan, basically.
Well, it debuted on BBC Two in the UK on the 22nd of October 2015. And for those of you guys listening from America, it's on BBC America since the 10th of October 2015. So it's still a relatively new show. There's only 7 episodes out, so you guys can binge watch and catch up. David Dawson's actually the actor that plays King Alfred, if you're familiar with David Dawson at all.
No, I'm not.
No. I should hope not anyway, because he was originally in Coronation Street at one point.
That's why I don't know who he is. You know? Don't watch Coronation Street.
No,
dude.
me neither. So I was hoping your answer would be no to that. But he's also been in Luther as well as Comedians and Posh. So on that point, actually, speaking about King Alfred and so forth, who's your favourite historical figure?
Oh god, I'm not sure if I really have an answer for that, to be honest, because it sort of fluctuates all the time.
So not Balin, no.
Actually, no. Balin is a really fascinating character. The real Balin, not the one that they showed the Kingdom of Heaven. Like I don't know why they got Orlando Bloom to play him. He's just like the most uninteresting actor for that sort of role. I know he's a great guy, and he really plays an elf really well, but I don't picture him playing like a Balin of Eberlin.
I mean, from what I've heard, Orlando Bloom is a great guy, absolutely, but he really is the same in almost every role he's casting, don't you think? I mean, from Pirates of the Caribbean to Lord of the Rings to Kingdom of Heaven, he's basically the same character in each. I think he's limited with his range to a degree. Considering he's limited for his range, he's a lot more successful than I am or ever will be. You know, don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not saying I'm a better actor than Orlando Bloom before anyone jumps in the comments section and says, well, I'd like to fucking see you do better, dick.
It's nice to see some hate washed on you for once, because I get a lot of crap for Kingdom of Heaven, man. I mean, a lot of people love that film. I didn't know people loved it that much. I can't stand it.
I loved the film, personally. I said this to you as well. It's one of my favourite films, and you were like, really? Come on.
Yeah.
It's so bad. It's so wrong completely. But no, anything to do with the Crusades and the medieval period, I really enjoy.
I love that stuff, dude. The Crusades is one of my favorite historical time periods. It's just that his acting, like, you know, when he's giving the speech to fight against the Muslims coming into the game.
Arise, a knight.
No, not that bit. He's like saying, "Come on, come on." That's like, really, that's the lamest speech I've ever given. That would not rouse me to put my life in harm's way for this dickhead. You know, I would be moving to the back of the line. You know, I'd let someone else die before me.
It wouldn't even arouse me to get out of bed, let alone go into battle.
Yeah, it's no William Wallace speech. I'll say that for sure. You know, it's no Aragorn in Return of the King. You know, it's just like, come on. You know, it's. I thought the Tyrion speech in Game of Thrones when at the Battle of Blackwater Bay, I thought that was more arousing, and he was taking the piss in that speech.
Speaking of William Wallace, when are you going to do Braveheart?
I'm actually researching for Braveheart right now.
Any ETA on that for the fans out there?
What time of arrival? Well, I don't know. I haven't even started writing it yet. I'm watching the movie and I'm trying to research as much as I can. It's really hard because William Wallace seems to be like the Scottish version of Robin Hood. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, even his wife, or supposed wife, we're not really sure, is named Marion. The real one. In the movie, her name is Morin or something like that. And, you know, Robin Hood also had Maid Marian. So I'm kind of skeptical of how much of the romantic plotline in the movie is true. So...
Not a lot. So, can you not think of anyone really prominent figure from history that sort of stands out in your mind as sort of one you hold above the rest?
No, not mine. Well, what about you? Maybe you could save me. Like, maybe you could recommend someone.
Well, you know, I used to read quite a lot of philosophy a few years ago, as you know, when I was in my last year at uni, and
yeah,
I mean, the Republic by Plato Certainly something that stood out in my mind. I enjoyed that wholeheartedly. Some of the stuff by Socrates certainly is even true to this day. So I'd say probably one of the historical philosophers more than anyone else sort of stands out in my mind. But if we're talking from historical contents in terms of movies, then the one that sort of gives me chills down my spine and you sort of can learn a lot from would probably be Leonidas.
Why is that? Why Leonidas?
Just 'cause I think he's great. He embodies Spartan values and for the time period, and he's sort of definitely the sort of that Gerard Butler portrays the character very well, I think. But from a historical standpoint as well, and what was written from that time period, he's certainly a king that you definitely want to follow into battle and give your life for.
Yeah, I agree with you on that part. He was one of the few Spartans who actually really committed to the Spartan way of life, because the Spartans were defeated in battle, and they did surrender. When they were during the Peloponnesian War, which was unheard of. There's they built up the myth that Spartans never surrender; they die in battle and all of that. So he fully committed, knowing that he was going to die. In fact, that's why he got 300 Spartans to fight the Persians in the first place, because they needed. The Spartans needed a kick up the arse away from their religious festivals to kind of get themselves in gear, and a death of a king was definitely going to sort of ignite that. So, yeah, I see what you mean there.
Back to the question, I'm going to press you here for an answer. If you had to choose someone, gun to the head, who's your favourite historical figure?
Come
on, this is a question people have been asking.
Favourite. Okay. What am I?
Gun to the head.
All right, gun to the head. I'd say Julius Caesar.
Okay.
Because that's a guy who just went for it. He went against the sort of status quo, and he built an empire out of nothing. And at the time, I feel like the Republic was very corrupt, and people were kind of getting sick of all these politicians scheming and bullshitting and all of that. That was really interesting for me, but I don't condone what he did to the Gauls. He did wipe out, exterminate 1 million Gauls in order to him to achieve his objectives. But the fact that he went from Gaul, then went to Egypt, to Turkey, he went everywhere, on his campaigns. He was the Alexander of the Roman world.
Well, that was the thing that motivated him. It was said that when he encountered the statue of Alexander the Great, he sort of realised the dissatisfaction with his life, and realised that when Alexander was his age, he effectively had the world at his feet, and Caesar had achieved very little in comparison to Alexander. So he basically wanted to try and emulate Alexander as much as he could. One of the stories say that he wept when he saw the statue of Alexander, because he felt like he was a failure in his life compared to Alexander the Great.
No, I could see that, and it is kind of ironic that he did end up in Alexandria, and that he went to the library and all of that. He could wasn't there a coffin of Alexander that apparently you could see where he was embalmed or something in the glass?
There was. Yeah,
that must have been a sight to see.
Although we don't know where that is now. Although archaeologists think they may have found that again recently.
Where?
I can't remember exactly. I remember reading the article a few months ago. They uncovered a tomb in Greece. There was a landslide, and they uncovered a tomb which was lavishly decorated, and the way it was sealed basically implied that it was for a high-ranking official or a leader, basically. So, in the time period of carbon dating from the rocks show it's from around the time that Alexander died. So, if it's not the tomb of Alexander, then it's a tomb of one of Alexander's high-ranking generals or a friend of his.
That'd be pretty sick. I mean, I got chills down my spine when I was watching a documentary, and they found King Philip's tomb, and you could see actual paintings on the walls of Alexander and Philip. And I was just thinking, wow, Alexander himself stood in that tomb, because it's such a long time ago. Alexander's almost like a mythical figure as much as Heracles, or Perseus. But that just kind of reminds you, no, he really did exist.
And yet they got Colin Farrell to play him in the film.
I know. Maybe you can come with me on that review, because you seem more pissed off about that movie than I find it just boring, to be honest.
It had so much potential, man. I mean, you got such an iconic character like Alexander the Great, and you pick someone like Colin Farrell to play Alexander, someone who has He just did not do the character justice. He just did not portray Alexander very well.
What I find most funny is that Colin Farrell was unable to do an English accent, so Val Kilmer had to do an Irish accent for his sake. I was like, oh god, couldn't you just pick someone who is capable of acting in the way you wanted, rather than having the actors adapt their performance according to him?
Yeah, I don't know. It was just such a disappointing film. I just get having nightmares just thinking about it. I just don't know what they were thinking in any way, shape, or form. It's horrible, horrible, horrible casting choice.
All right, okay. So what's the next question?
I've lost the name of who this is from, but are there any historical periods you really like that aren't adequately represented in historical films or documentaries?
I think I would love to see one about the American Revolution, but sort of done in a non sort of biased way. I mean, like I know that John Adams is a contender, but I feel like there was so much more going on than just like what was presented in the Patriot. I mean, like I fucking loathe that movie, but like
as we know,
yeah, I really, really do. But I want to see like the worst of the worst for the British, what they did, and for the Americans. The American Revolution has been sort of romanticized in movies and in pop culture, and to kind of get an idea of like how it went down and the hypocrisies that were going on between the British and the Americans, like that would have been brilliant to see, and also the immediate after effects. Like usually in movies, you get the Americans get independence and yay, America's born, but I want to see like immediately what happened after. Like George Washington wins this war, and his country has enormous debt. So what's he going to do? Is he going to raise taxes again? But that was what kicked off the war to start off with. Like, what does he do after that? So, I mean, I know exactly what he did, but I would like to see like how that sort of develops. I mean, maybe as a television show or something. I wouldn't mind seeing like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe I would like to see some TV shows go into the Umayyad Caliphate. Mm-hmm. See like how the Byzantine Empire sort of fell, like because the Umayyad Caliphate was like one of the largest empires in history, and there's very little done about it.
Now remind me, the Umayyads were the Moors effectively that invaded and conquered Spain.
Yeah, I mean, like, so the Umayyad Caliphate was established like in Arabia after the Prophet Muhammad died. And then they conquered like the Middle East and North Africa. They went into Spain, Sicily. They also invaded France. Like that, I think that would be really interesting.
This was the group they conquered Spain and invaded France. And was this the during the time period of Charles Martel, Charles the Hammer? They lost the Battle of Poitiers, which effectively ended the push of the Arabs into Europe.
At the time, yeah. I mean, then they kind of focused their efforts on the Byzantines, but like they were essentially like the sort of new Roman Empire. And after the fall of the Roman Empire, like Europe was, it must have been sort of like the apocalypse going on. Like every time we see how in The Walking Dead and like how society sort of crumbles, and then you got like this new enemy on the rise, and they suddenly the Umayyads were way more technologically advanced and everything than everyone else was. So that's what I would like to see.
To correct myself, sorry, it was a Battle of Tours, not a Battle of Poitiers, before someone jumps in.
Okay.
The comment section.
Maybe too late.
down my throat. Yeah, someone's already commented. It's the Battle of Tours, you noob.
You dickhead,
you penis.
Well, what about you? What do you think?
Historical period. I would like a film about the Battle of Tours, in fact, actually. To be completely honest. Or some more movies chronicling the 100 Years' War. The Battle of Agincourt is been completely untouched, really, other than by documentaries. I mean, it's quite a significant battle in historical terms because it's sort of the day that chivalry died.
Yeah.
I mean, the English army effectively executed a number of French knights that were captured behind enemy lines. I mean, as you know, the English were greatly outnumbered against the French, and the French had the heavy cavalry, the heavily armored like foot soldiers, the knights. They're defending in their own land, and the English army basically was full of light armored foot soldiers that had the mobility to move around and archers.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's isn't it covered in Henry V with Kenneth Branagh?
I haven't seen that film, to be completely honest.
But you've seen the speech, like I think on YouTube, where he's like saying, "We few, we happy few, we band of brothers," and all of that stuff.
Yes.
So that's a bit from the movie. That's actually before the Battle of Agincourt. I haven't seen it myself. I've just seen that scene. Maybe that could be a film I could review one day. But,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the numbers that they give for the battle, to put it into perspective, like the estimates, the modern estimates, were that the French had about 36,000 troops, well, between 12,000 and 36,000, and the English army estimated the strength between 6,000 and 9,000. So if you just think about that in sheer terms, if we had, the French were said to be outnumbering the English 6-1, and the English army managed to win. So it was about 5-6 of the English army was longbow archers, and the rest was basically dismounted knights and men-at-arms.
Yeah.
And the French were said to have about 10,000 knights and men-at-arms, and about over a thousand mounted units as well. And yet the British managed to win just because of the conditions on the day and the terrain. And there was a number of French prisoners were captured, about 1,500, and they were murdered behind enemy lines because the French were basically looking to make an advance on the last day of the battle. And there was about half the number of French soldiers were captured as English troops that were left that weren't wounded or injured, and basically the king had no choice but to order the execution of all the prisoners.
But what I quite like about it is like how he was able to get so many good archers. Like wasn't it like a mandatory law that everyone had to practice archery like every Sunday or something after church or something?
Yeah, I mean, I believe a lot of the archer regiments came from Wales. I give credit to the Welsh there. It's not just an English army, although it was at the time it was referred to as England rather than United Kingdom. But a lot of the regiments were Welsh archers because they were like some of the best. That's basically where some of the best archers in England came from at the time.
Yeah, and they continue to be the best archers until the Mongols came and they revolutionized how bows were made. But longbow was like the
snipers of the medieval times.
They're snipers. There we go. Yeah, the way it sort of changed everything in the battlefield.
But the death of chivalry. So I think that's quite a.
Chivalry's overrated anyway, as that's a really English thing to say. It's like because we won, so.
Yeah, victory is all that matters. That's all that matters. Back onto the 300 and Spartans. Just segueing across from that. Are you looking forward to seeing the Warcraft movie?
I'm curious to see it because I've never got into the MMORPGs because I'm a sucker for single player content. Like story is what sucks me in, rather than gameplay. But I know that you're a massive World of Warcraft fan, I'm imagining you're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I am, absolutely. I mean, basically moving up. The reason why I said we'd segue across in the 300, it's because the culture of the orcs in the film or the orcs in the game is effectively loosely based on Spartan society and Spartan culture. Like they're very much like a warrior people, and they don't really have citizens and civilians basically amongst the orcs. They are all soldiers. It's they say Loktar Ogar, which basically means victory or death. They're all about no retreat, no surrender, fight to the last man, fight to the death. So very much based on sort of the Spartan culture and Spartan way of life. I think you'll appreciate the film. They've gone back to effectively the first war in the game, which is when the orcs first invade Azeroth, which is the human homeworld. It's like an alien civilization effectively invading this planet, and the humans fight for survival against the orcs. So not too Lord of the Ringsy.
Not too well. I saw the trailer. The guy's like jumping on a griffin or something, flying around. In fact, that actor actually plays Ragnar Lothbrok in Vikings. So I think that's what piqued my interest. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, hacks. You can't mount up on the move in World of Warcraft, so that guy's clearly hacking in the film.
Right.
But yeah, no, I'm really hyped for that. I'm really hoping that they actually don't mess up another film based on comic books, and they'll be mad to mess this up because the Warcraft franchise has been going on for close to 20 years now.
Comic book? You mean video games?
The video games. Since I say Warcraft franchise because it was originally the RTS,
Right.
It wasn't World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft wasn't the first game.
Yeah.
Warcraft 1 came out in 1994.
Okay.
Orcs and Humans. So there's all this established lore and all these established games going back 20 years' time that the movie franchise could easily go on for 10, 15 years.
I'd be very interested in seeing a video game movie that doesn't suck. Like, that's all I want. I pray for it.
Are you telling me you didn't love Street Fighter?
As much as I love Mortal Kombat, I'll say that.
Mortal Kombat was great. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know that you had it on DVD, and but you also had Mortal Kombat 2 as well. So, I don't know, I kind of look down on you for that.
They were fun films, man. Street Fighter was great. I mean, who doesn't love a bit of Jean-Claude Van Damme and Kylie Minogue?
Yeah, well, to me, that was just a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. It had nothing to do with Street Fighter whatsoever.
Well, it also had, if people may not know this, Ming-Na Wen from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She is in the Street Fighter film. If you guys go back and check that out, she plays Chun-Li.
All right. We've got any other questions, Tyler?
No, I think that's pretty much covered it, actually, for the fan questions.
Yeah, I've got some additional questions I just wrote down from the comment section. Okay. So this is from Pimped Out Horseradish. So he says, do I plan on any more loosely inspired by history fantasy world videos like I did with Game of Thrones? I don't know. Well, I guess, like Tyler was saying, I could do World of Warcraft. That's always an option, but I think Tyler would have to be my leading expert in the subject since he's been playing the games from day one, from the sound of things.
I'm a bit of a lore nerd when it comes to World of Warcraft, so I'd more than happily join you on that.
All right, that sounds like a good idea. When is it coming out, by the way?
June.
June, okay. Wasn't it supposed to come out sooner?
It was supposed to come out in December, originally, but what other big film franchise is releasing a follow-up in December? Can you tell me?
Yeah.
Stop your head?
Yeah, Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, World of Warcraft, the Warcraft movie didn't want to go up against Star Wars at the box office. And they said that one of the reasons they gave is historically or generally, films generally do better at the box office in the summer than they do in December. That was the reason they gave. They wouldn't say they don't want to go up against Star Wars, but, it's pretty obvious.
It's kind of bullshit, yeah. I mean, look at Avatar. That did pretty well, considering it came out in December, so, yeah.
Yeah.
But
on that point, though, the theory really is that they pushed it back to coincide with the release of the new expansion for World of Warcraft, Legion. I mean, from a business standpoint, that also makes sense, because like Star Wars are doing, they've just released Battlefront, which is made by the same people that make Battlefield.
Yeah.
That's just been released. There's a new expansion, I believe, for the MMO, the Star Wars MMO, Knights of the Old Republic, coming out in December. So that maximises hype. Obviously, if the film comes out, people are going to think, oh my god, that was great, I wish I could run around with a lightsaber. They'll check out Battlefront, they'll check out, Knights of the Old Republic, or the Old Republic, and they may be increasing buy rates in the game. Same with Warcraft. The new World of Warcraft expansion's due to come out, they said September at the latest next year, but I'd be extremely surprised if it doesn't come out in June, within 2 weeks either side of the film, just to maximise hype and bring some of the returning players, bring some players back to the player base, or bring new players into the world.
Okay, alright, so that's one. I had one cheeky idea of maybe doing a video. I mean, like, I kind of thought maybe not to do it, like I couldn't justify it, but then I'm thinking, hey, fuck it, if I did Game of Thrones, then really I could just do anything, as long as it's sort of relevant to history. I would love to do something about, like, Stargate. I have no idea why, that's my favourite sci-fi TV show of all time, and I think the reason I got into it in the first place is because I loved Egyptian history and ancient Egyptian history and ancient Egyptian mythology, and it kind of like walked a fine line, that show, between being set in the past historically and also having aliens, that kind of stuff in it. So I don't know, maybe like I'll save that for like I did with Game of Thrones. So I don't know, someone said about doing something about Star Wars, but I don't know if people would be interested in knowing like the historical inspirations behind Star Wars. Maybe that might be a thing, but I don't know. Stargate would be something I would really want to get into. Like actually talking about the Egyptian gods that the Goa'uld are based on and that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
So do you on this point of Stargate, do you prefer Stargate to Stargate Atlantis?
I have to say, like, I'm a die-hard fan for SG-1. I love Stargate Atlantis. I was really bummed out when Season 5 ended, just to make up the crappy Stargate Universe TV show. I mean, like, Stargate Universe was alright. I watched it. It was okay, Tyler. I mean, like, I'm a die-hard fan, but even I thought it was alright. No way could it justify, though, them ending Atlantis prematurely, is all I could say. But I think I'd have to say SG-1 is my favourite, simply because, come on, you got like O'Neill and Teal'c being hilarious, and Daniel Jackson and all of that. Like, they're really funny characters.
Teal'c is a very good character. I prefer him to Ronan.
Do you see that episode where Ronan and Teal'c,
they go head to head?
Yeah, they fight. I just thought that was so funny. That I just thought Teal'c's haircut was ridiculous in it. But there was nothing cooler than seeing Teal'c having a machine gun blasting through Wraith. I thought that was pretty epic.
Well, Ronan saves Teal'c in the episode, doesn't he? Teal'c's on the verge of dying, if I remember correctly, and
it's true.
Towards the end.
Well, Teal'c is getting old in his age. He's like 150 years old or something.
Still a spring chicken for Gould.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know you were a Stargate fan as well.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Stargate, quite a few. I mean, it's been many years since I watched Stargate. I mean, when did the first one go off the air, SG-1?
1997, I think it was.
And it went off the air in 2007. Does that sound about right to you? It was about then, 2006, 2007?
No, I think, SG-1.
Yeah.
Quite possibly. I need to double check that, but I think it was something around that time. I know that they finished SGU 2011, I think. That was the last of the Stargate stuff when MGM was close to bankruptcy and all of that. But they really should bring that back on Netflix, I think. Like, I would certainly be watching it. You know, I prefer it more than this stupid idea of like them rebooting the original movie.
Are they planning on doing that? Are they?
Yeah, Roland Emmerich is planning to make a trilogy to the first movie that he made, and scrapping all the lore that was built up by the TV shows.
Oh God!
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, because like one season of Atlantis made more money than the movie. So yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't like it when people feel the need to unnecessarily reboot the franchise.
What was okay, let's see any other questions. Am I planning to... Okay, maybe I'll read this one. Pimped Out Horseradish asked, like, am I planning on putting up a video of me singing sea shanties whilst drunk?
we could do that. We could do that one night, yeah?
Yeah, alright. That sounds like a good idea. So... it could be a big reveal of what I actually look like, although I doubt that people will want to see what I really look like. Couldn't care less.
You look very much like your cartoon avatar.
Yeah, people think I look like Stephen Merchant in the thing.
I could see you could be relatives, yeah?
Yeah, seriously, though, some people think I'm copying off of Ricky Gervais's cartoon podcast thing from back in the day. And it's just like, might as well have Tyler saying like, "No, guys, he really looks like that."
Yeah, you really do look a bit like Stephen Merchant.
Just not as tall.
Same glasses, similar sort of hairstyle. Yeah. Although you don't have the sort of rugged facial hair. I don't think you can even grow facial hair, can you?
No, I'm 28 years old and I still can't grow facial hair.
Yeah, so there you go, guys. He can't grow facial hair like Stephen Merchant, but other than that, he's basically his cousin. Yeah,
practically. Let's see. Is there any other things? No, that's pretty much about it. Oh, wow, we sort of covered everything. All right.
Well, we've done an hour and 8 minutes. Should we can wrap this puppy up if you like.
We'll wrap it up. All right. Well, thank you very much, Tyler, for coming onto the show.
It's a pleasure, mate. Anytime. You know, I'm always happy to help out.
Yes, and for any of you listeners out there, please send in your questions. Actually, don't send them in. Write them down in the comments section below. And I'll copy and paste them, and I'll read them out into the next podcast.
In the comments section below.
All right. Thanks very much, everybody.